Inspirational Springbok captain Siya Kolisi looks set for a shock return to his home country after reportedly requesting an early release from his contract with French club Racing 92. Kolisi had been the latest big money signing for the Parisian Giants, only for his relationship with the club to turn sour after owner Jackie Lorenzetti referred to him as overweight and transparent, following yet another disappointing season that once again ended trophyless for his club. The return to South Africa was all but confirmed in a press conference by Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus, who reinstated Kolisi as national captain, having previously stated that a player must be playing club rugby in South Africa in order to hold that position. It is expected that Kolisi will rejoin the Sharks, whom he represented in the first 2 seasons of the URC, but the move has gotten people asking, how can South African rugby afford him? It was speculated in the media that Racing, thought to be the richest club in all of rugby, would put a multi-million euro price tag on buying Kolisi out of his contract. His wages, meanwhile, were rumoured to be close to €1 million a season, or close to 20 million South African rand. SARU have moved quickly to insist it is not them who would be footing this bill. South Africa's URC franchises work to a tight budget cap, and the professional game in the country has not, historically, been flush with cash. So how are the Sharks affording it? A few months ago, the Pirate Rugby podcast was joined by AP Cronje, who explains that, when it comes to budgets in the Rainbow Nation, all may not be as it seems.
And in terms of like the clubs, we all know that, there's a big financial backer behind the Sharks. I believe there's a big, backer behind the Bulls. That we all know that the Stormers story, we know the Lions are struggling a bit, but like, is the makeup of these clubs kind of, sustainable financially? Like, if the Sharks, say, didn't have that big kind of like backer who puts money in, well, we know where they are now. Even with the money, they're at the bottom of the table. But you know what I mean? Like, would they be able to track those Springbok stars? Like, is this a sustainable model, basically? Do you think, or
$1 million question? And it's the $1 million question that no one wants to be asking. It's the one that I get a lot of. I got a lot of grief from Stormers fans for saying, guys, for a team that's in administration, you do seem to be having a lot of Springboks, and I just kind of trying to understand how you're in administration, you're paying these guys their salaries. So there's a salary cap in place in South Africa, and it's sort of gradually creeping up and up and up. I'm one of the people that sort of say, look, red lights start flashing when you have the marquee player thing, which I think they're flirting with the idea of introducing that sort of marquee player system, because we all sort of know how that went in the Premiership. What you get is you get that wage inflation where your marquee players end up driving up the contracts of everyone else, and then you start getting into a tricky spot. So is it sustainable? I certainly hope so. I really trust that, or I hope that these guys have a good idea of what's going on. The truth of the matter is that every single club is kind of pulling a Saracens, where there is a salary cap in place, but it's kind of accepted and understood that players are being paid via sponsorships and all manner of things, Voon Prop Limited, Faz Industries Limited type situation outside of that salary cap. It's been going on for ages, and it sort of happens at every single club. So it's like, it's not like, devious necessarily, because I suppose that the way that Sari looks at it as well, okay, these guys aren't systemic risk for the clubs themselves. If you want, private backers, or if you want people to pay you, by external sponsors, paying part of this player's salary, I guess go for it, as long as it doesn't compromise the financial stability of the clubs themselves. The other question, of course, is the fact that, the Sharks now have a private equity investment. The Bulls have 2 private owners, not necessarily private equity firms, but the Storm is now also about to complete a transaction with a consortium called Red Disa. So, private equity is notorious in the sense that they want to see a return on investment in typically like a 7-year investment horizon. And again, no one's really asking how and what happens when MVM Holdings and the Sharks decide, okay, we've tried this, not been successful. Now we want to make an exit. So, look, from a financial and governance perspective, which for me, I'm a bit like you, and I find that part quite interesting, and because ultimately that's sort of in a professional game, that's what matters in the long term. That's not what people really want to talk about. So it means that sort of rugby nerds like us end up fretting over it, and can, we're a bit like Chicken Little screaming, "Watch out, watch out, watch out!" But yeah, I mean, the truth is, I guess we'll wait and see. I'm hopeful that it isn't a meltdown, but there are some warning signs there. So let's just hope we can navigate these tricky waters.
And on the back of that, I suppose, like, do you see more players now from Europe going back to South Africa? Like, that's, for me, been a massive success story of the URC, just seeing so many stars come back. And maybe not even just stars, just, lesser known players who mightn't be Springboks, but seeing those guys come back, I think, like, for me, that's extremely positive. Like, obviously a lot of that is probably financial, family reasons, but I'm sure part of that as well is, the allure of the URC as well, which I think is a really positive thing. Like, do you see more players going back, like, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, a guy, for example, just to take a story from this week where it's now officially been announced that Cobus Wiese, who was obviously at Sale, is now coming to play for the Bulls. Jake White said for ages that the problem that South African rugby found and why it wasn't as competitive as it should have been is that you have these guys who are sort of at the end of back end of their careers, they're sort of 34, 35 years old, and then you have guys who are like 21 years old. But ultimately, what you need to have a successful championship squad is you need guys basically in the 25 to 29-year-old range who are sort of at the peak of their powers, but also experienced enough. You can't just have lads and dads, basically, sustaining your squads. And I think I agree with you. The most positive element for me is you see guys like Cobus Wiese coming back. You're always going to be able to, potentially get a guy like Etzebeth back if the right conditions arise and the right number is on the contract. But ultimately, it's guys like Cobus Wiese coming back. That, for me, is a sign that our rugby is in really rude health. And I think that you're right. I think there is absolutely a sense that the URC plays into that. I think that, people were disillusioned with Super Rugby, but the other thing is that these guys are professional competitors, right? And ultimately, South Africa's side, Sharks notwithstanding, are actually performing pretty well. The Bulls and the Stormers, primarily. And ultimately, you want to be part of that. And home is home. So for these guys to be able to go home and play in a competitive league for competitive sides, that is absolutely a draw. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah. I want to ask you, obviously, I think pretty much every South African side puts out a full, if not full squad, then at least a full 23 that is 100% South African brought through. Okay, maybe they've pinched a couple of players off the Lions or the Cheetahs here and there. But do you ever see non-South Africans coming into South African rugby more? Do you ever see Europeans or Kiwis starting to put on franchise jerseys?
I mean, I'd love to see it. I think the sides historically that have had that more have been the Sharks. I mean, Freddie Michalak is sort of Sharks legend, and I mean Tony Brown played for the Sharks and the Stormers as
Andy
well.
Good.
Andy Good, Carlos Spencer played for the Lions for a bit. So I mean, there are sort of guys you can point to. I mean, currently you'd say in the Stormers starting 15, their starting 11 is Ben Loader, right? You'd say that he is chalked down as definitely a starter. So, I mean, and Jamie Roberts, unfortunately, COVID sort of put an end to that. I mean, Hugh Jones, I mean, he was at university in Cape Town, so slightly different. But, you do get some guys who come through. I think realistically speaking, you probably don't see as much of that for two reasons. One is financial, that ultimately you're never really going to compete with any European club in terms of wages. And the other thing is that for non-South Africans to move to South Africa, understanding and being cognizant of all the difficulties that exist in the country, which, we have to be honest about, it's not always the easiest thing to try and get your head around. So if you're not used to the culture, it's a tricky move to try and validate yourself when, for example, you might have a pro did contract on the table, which would pay you more, and then you can go and live in Grenoble, and that'd be lovely. So I'd love to see more of it. I think that any external rugby IP that you can get into the South African system is great, and I really love it at the Springbok level that they're bringing in coaches that bring in, I mean, just look at what Felix Jones did for the Springboks. Look at what Andy Edwards as S&C and Aled Walters did, and all these guys. So bringing that in, and now with Fla there, and now with Tony Brown there, it's just brilliant to see what they can bring and enhance the rugby overall. So I'd love to see more of it, but I'm realistic as to why we maybe won't.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and thank you for watching.